What if I told you there is a sound that people across Mexico, across Central America, across entire generations have been terrified to hear at night? Not a gunshot, not thunder, not an animal, a cry, a long, hollow, agonizing cry, a woman's voice drifting through the dark, over rivers and streets and sleeping towns, and if you hear it close, you are already too late. This is the story of La Llorona, the Wailing Woman, a tale so old nobody remembers when it began, a tale so widespread it has been told in 100 different ways, but it always ends the same way, in grief, in water, in regrets that lasts forever. Walk with me as I take you on another journey through the eyes of history. Before La Llorona became a ghost, she was a woman. And before she was a ghost that haunted rivers, she was a mother. Her name, depending on who tells the story, was Maria. In some versions, she had no name at all, just a face, a story, and a fate. But let's call her Maria, because that name, in the world she lived in, meant something. It meant she was ordinary. It meant she was real. Maria was beautiful, extraordinarily beautiful, the kind of beautiful that turns heads in a village and makes older women nervous. She grew up poor, humble roots, dirt floors, calloused hands. But Maria carried herself like she was made of something rarer than gold. She had fire in her eyes and pride in her spine, and she believed, truly believed, that her beauty was the key that would unlock a better life. Therefore, when a wealthy, charming, well-dressed man came riding through her village on horseback, Maria did not look away, and he did not look away from her either. His name was Don Nuno, or simply the man, a rich landowner, educated, powerful, the kind of man who was used to getting everything he wanted, and he wanted Maria. What happened between them next was not surprising. It was old, it was human, it was dangerous. He pursued her, she let herself be caught. They became lovers in secret. Stolen meetings under cover of night, promises whispered like prayers, affection that felt to Maria like the entire universe shifting in her direction. She gave him everything. She gave him her body, her trust, her loyalty, and eventually she gave him 2 children, 2 beautiful, dark-eyed children who were the absolute center of her world. For a while, it was almost perfect, not ideal, not formal, not honorable by the standards of our society, but it was hers, a family, a love, a reason to wake up every morning. But here is the brutal truth about men who take without committing. They are always looking for the next thing. Don Nuno began to disappear, first for days, then weeks. His visits became shorter, colder. The warmth she'd grown used to started turning distant. He stopped looking at her the way he used to. That hungry, consuming look she had mistaken for devotion. Maria noticed. Of course, she noticed. Mothers always notice. Women in love always noticed. She asked, he dismissed. She pressed, he withdrew further. Therefore, when the news arrived, it hit her not like a surprise, but like a confirmation of the worst thing she had ever feared. Don Nuno was getting married, not to her, but to a woman of equal status. A woman from a wealthy family, a proper woman, according to the society they lived in, a woman appropriate for a man like him. There is a moment in a person's life when something inside them, something fundamental, something that holds the rest of them together, simply snaps. Not bends, not cracks, snaps. That was Maria's moment. She had built her entire identity around this man and the life he had half promised her. Her beauty, her sacrifice, her children. She had offered it all on the altar of his affection, and he had taken all of it, and then looked past her towards someone else. The humiliation was unbearable. The rejection was unbearable. But the worst thing, the thing that turned her grief into something darker, was watching him look at her children. Because when Don Nuno finally came around again, perhaps to say goodbye, perhaps to negotiate, perhaps simply out of the careless cruelty of men who want things on their own terms, he looked at their children, not with love, but with inconvenience. These children were a problem to be managed, evidence of a chapter he wanted to close, a complication in his new, clean, proper life. Something shattered in Maria, and what happened next had been the subject of debates, horror, and heartbreak for centuries. Maria took her children to the river. It was night. The water was dark and moving. The kind of night where the world feels like it is holding its breath. What happened at that river, whether in a moment of total madness, of calculated revenge, of grief so overwhelming it consumed her reason, her children went into the water and they did not come back out. Some versions of the story say she drowned them deliberately, a horrifying act of revenge against the man who had abandoned her, destroying the very things he had given her and then tried to disown. Others say it was not revenge at all, but something closer to a deranged mercy, a broken woman who could not see a future and could not bear to leave her children behind in a world that would treat them as the shameful footnotes of a rich man's past. Either way, the children were gone, and the moment the river swallowed them, something happened to Maria. It was as if the madness cleared. She stood at the riverbank, the water rushing past her feet, and the reality of what she had done descended on her like a ceiling collapsing. She screamed, "I miss hijos, oh my children." She threw herself into the water after them. Some say she drowned herself, others say she simply ran until the earth had no more ground to offer her. But the version that has survived the longest says this: she died at that river, alone, weeping, searching for the children she had lost, the children she had taken. When Maria arrived at the gates of the afterlife, at heaven, at judgment, at whatever awaits us beyond this world, she came without her children, and she was asked, "Where are your children?" She had no answer, or rather, she had an answer, and it damned her. She was turned away, not welcomed, not forgiven, not allowed to rest. She was sent back, sentenced for eternity, or something close to it, to walk the earth, searching for what she had destroyed, to wander rivers, lakes, roads, and streets in the dark hours of the night, crying out the same words she cried at the moment she understood the horror of what she had done. "I miss hijos, oh my children." This is how La Llorona was born, not as a monster, not as a demon, but as a mother in the most extreme agony a human soul can experience, a grief of her own making. Thank you guys for watching. Do well to like, comment, subscribe, and walk with me again through the eyes of history.